Well, it's another Wednesday evening, and that means it's another edition of the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. We're live in Fort Collins on a beautiful night here in Old Town. A great night to come on down and get a little food and drink here at the Beach House Grill and talk some Colorado State Ram football. I'm Brian Roth with you. Of course, we'll be joined by head coach Steve Fairchild, and we'll take a look back at the game last week in which Colorado State lost their first football game of the season as they dropped a tough one to the University of Colorado. Final score was 28-14, and with the loss, Colorado State falling to 2-1 on the season. But Rams will hope to bounce back coming up this week as they will make their first trip to Logan, Utah in nearly 14 years as the Rams get set to take on the Aggies of Utah State. Of course, we'll have all the live coverage for you right here on the Colorado State Sports Network as our tailgate show begins at 4 o'clock, and of course the kickoff from Romney Stadium in Logan coming shortly after 6 p.m. It's a Utah State team that comes in at 1-1. It's a Utah State team that nearly knocked off Auburn, the defending national champs in the season opener, down in Auburn. So it's an Aggie team that I know is playing with a lot of confidence, and it'll be a tough test. We'll ask head coach Steve Fairchild about that coming up a little bit later on in the program. Also should tell you that we'll be joined in-house by a couple of Colorado State Rams as sophomore tight end Crockett Gilmore will join us on the program. Of course, Crockett, the leading receiver for CSU, he's had a fantastic sophomore campaign so far, switching over from defensive end in spring football this past April. We're making the move to tight end, and it's been a seamless transition. And we'll also be joined by senior Matt Yam, a Fort Collins kid. And Matt will join us a little bit later on in the program as well. Of course, you can join us on the program, and you can be a part of the show if you have a question or a comment for head coach Steve Fairchild. Here's the number, 1-866-702-7691. Again, 1-866-702-7691 if you want to hop on board with a question or a comment for the coach. Well, when we come back, we'll be joined by Steve Fairchild. But first, this time out, glad to have you with us here tonight. From Nelligan Sports, it's the Colorado State Sports Network. Back here at the Beach House Grill, we're in Old Town Fort Collins on a beautiful Wednesday night for the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. The Coaches Show brought to you by Poudre Valley Health System. They're proud to be the exclusive healthcare sponsor of Ram Athletics with a fast-growing network of healthcare providers and locations. PVHS is here for you. For more information, go to pvhs.org. Brian Roth with you, along with head coach Steve Fairchild. Colorado State coming off a 28-14 loss to Colorado at Invesco at Sports Authority Stadium on Saturday. It's always tough to make that transition to a 28-14, the final score. Coach, your general overall thoughts on the game against the Buffaloes?
Well, we obviously didn't play well enough to win. I told our team afterwards, I thought our effort and the way we played the game with a physical nature, all that stuff was good. We just didn't make enough plays, when we had some opportunities and, really in all three phases. And, they made a few more than we did and won the game. But, again, we competed, we played physical football, and if we continue to do that, we'll win our share of games.
Talk a little bit about the first drive because you guys take that kickoff and you go right down the field and you go up 7-0, and it looked like it might be a sign of things to come offensively.
We got off to a fast start on both sides of the ball, which is positive. And actually had a few drives early in the game where we were able to move the football and change some field position and so forth. But, at the end of the day, we had chances offensively to make some plays in the passing game. We didn't do it. We wanted to try to get them off the field there towards the end. Didn't tackle well enough to do it. And, if you don't tackle well and you don't make plays in the passing game, you're going to struggle at times, and that's what happened.
Yeah, you mentioned the success on offense, early portions of the game. The middle portions of the game, you guys struggled moving the football. Was there anything that Colorado did different?
Well, they pressed our wide receivers and got safeties down close to the line of scrimmage and, made it really difficult sledding in there to run the football, which, we still try to do that and continue to do that. But, sooner or later, just with our style of offense, you got to be able to get the ball down the field to your receivers and loosen things up, and we didn't do a good enough job doing that.
Yeah, I know you were a little concerned about the wide receiving group coming into the season. You were back in the spring. Have those concerns not been alleviated then at this point?
Well, I just don't think we're consistent enough, at any area. When you talk about throwing the football, it's just not receivers. It's backs and tight ends. It's protection. It's the rhythm of the quarterback. And his progression and everything coming together. It's a team, obviously a team venture there when you drop back to throw the football. So we know we're physical, we're running the ball well. I like what our backs are doing. Inside our passing game, mixed down stuff's been decent, but eventually we're going to have to make some plays outside. And it's just an area we've got to improve on. We know it, and we're working hard at it.
Yeah, but defensively, I did think you guys played a solid football game. Obviously, the last drive you would have liked to have gone out the field, but was it strange to look out there and not see Mike Sisson out there and not leading the defense? And I was surprised a little bit at how well your team played. Didn't seem like they skipped a beat. Obviously, they did because you'd like to have him in there, but it didn't seem like they skipped a beat without him there.
Yeah, it was strange because, since I've been the head football coach here, Mike Sisson started every game. And all of a sudden you look up and he's standing next to you on the sideline. So that was strange. But we had, it's part of the game. And we had some other guys step up and play fairly well. But again, it still boils down defensively to how fast you play the game and can you tackle. And the second you're not playing full speed and not flying around, the second you're not tackling well, you're going to struggle on defense. And there were times in that game where we weren't wrapping up and getting the ball carrier on the ground like we had the first two games.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that final drive. I know it must have been frustrating on the sidelines when you just could not get off the field as a defensive unit.
Particularly we got them in two holding calls.
Yeah.
So we got them in one first and forever and one second, I believe, in forever. And usually with one of those, you're going to end up getting on the good side of a third down and get them off the field, but we couldn't do it, and we had a few penalties ourselves. But again, you got to wrap them up and get the ball carrier down. We didn't do that.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the face mask call against Nuku Latu. He had actually made a very nice play on that.
He made a great play. In fact, I was watching him right on that play. And the running back's just so darn short.
Yeah.
He came through there and actually beat an offensive lineman on a move and did everything you asked him to do and reached out to grab the back and just got his face mask. So those things are going to happen, and it never comes down to one play here or there. It's it's your collective body of work through the afternoon, and we just didn't make enough plays there to get them off field that last drive, and again didn't score enough points on offense.
Yeah, certainly there are key plays though within the course of a game, and I thought the one at the end of the first half on the blocked punt and just a mistake, and I know it ended up costing you points.
Yeah, it really did, and we had a chance. We hadn't blocked a punt in a while, and to block one and at that stage of the game and have a chance to go ahead going into halftime would have been big. But we obviously gave the ball back to them, and even at that point you got to contain the quarterback and minimize the damage and go in with feel a little worse, and we ended up letting them score there, and that was a big momentum shift. There's no question.
Yeah, certainly a lot of bright spots though from the contest, and gentlemen, we're going to have later on the program. Crockett Gilmore continues to shine for you. Had another big day.
Yeah, he is. He's a very talented kid, and a true sophomore that's just kind of starting out at the tight end spot, but really having a good season so far. I think could be as good a tight end as there is in the country, and I'm quite certain he's going to play for a living in the NFL.
I know you guys are continually trying to work on finding ways to get him the football. As we continue to go, do you believe defensive coordinators and opposing teams are going to really start keying in on him?
Well, they should. He's probably has more productivity than he and Joe Brown inside than anybody else, and that's what you do when you break down an offense. Is the first question you ask yourself as a defensive coordinator is what do they do well, and let's take that away. And right now, running the football and throwing it to those two guys is what we do well. So, but yeah, and again, getting him involved means not protecting quite with as many people and that sort of thing. Anytime you start using your backs and your tight ends in the pass game, then you're not using them as protectors, and so that stresses your offensive line a little bit more. But he's certainly done a good job. We've used him. We'll continue to use him, and hopefully we develop around him to give him some more opportunities.
Yeah, Gilmore 5 catches, 84 yards, and other touchdowns. And we're going to take a break here in a second, but wanted to kind of continue to talk about Crockett, something that fans don't always see. But how is he as a blocker?
Real good. In fact, we this time of year you always have NFL scouts coming through and looking at your juniors and your seniors, and they want to see the offensive linemen and this and that, and they're already aware of this kid, and he's a complete player, and like I said, I'd be surprised if we're not watching him many years down the road.
Yep. Again, Gilmore, yet another touchdown, and hope for big things from him coming up this week. All right, we'll take a timeout. Plenty more to come here tonight from the Beach House Grill. We're at Old Town Fort Collins, the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Show on the Colorado State Sports Network. Well, we're taking you right up until 7 o'clock here tonight from the Beach House Grill, Old Town Fort Collins. Coors Light Steve Fairchild, Coach's Show, Brian Roth, and the coach right back with you. You want to get on board? Here's the phone number, 1-866-702-7691. Again, 866-702-7691. Again, the Rams coming off that loss to Colorado this past week. What did you tell the kids in the locker room after the game?
Well, like I said earlier, I liked our physical play. I liked our effort. Obviously, we didn't, play well enough or make enough plays to win it. So, you give CU their credit and be humble. And, we always have kind of a 24-hour rule. You can be very disappointed, and it's okay to hurt because you want guys to play with passion and want them to give everything they have out there, and when you don't succeed, obviously it is disappointing, but you feel bad for 24 hours and you get back to work on Sunday. And we came in on Sunday, watched the tape, made our corrections, had a little practice, did our conditioning, and then all efforts go forward to Utah State at that point.
Is that a harder thing to do when you come off a loss against a rival in an emotional game like that?
I think so. I think it's a big game. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's big for them. It's big for us. Our fan base. Everybody kind of looks at that game as something that they put their stamp on and say, we're the better team this year. But regardless, it's not a one-game season. We're in it for the long haul, and we're sitting at 2-1, and the main thing right now, if you're going to make a playoff run in the NFL, or if you're going to, make a run at postseason at the college level, you need to string together wins, and when you have a setback, you need to kind of cut that off and get back to the winning ways. And if you find a way to win 2 or 3, and then when you drop one, just keep it at 1, then you'll usually find yourself playing at the end of the year.
Yeah, I know a lot of people thought going into the Colorado game, it gives a pretty good gauge on Colorado State here this year. Obviously, the season opener against New Mexico. Season openers are tough to gauge a team. UNC was tough to gauge because obviously you guys dominated them in every facet. Did you learn anything about your ball club coming off the Colorado game?
Yeah, I still think we're kind of figuring out who we are offensively. We got kind of handed that lesson once again. If you don't tackle defensively, you can go from being a very good defense to a below average defense in a hurry. So but and a little of it too is we're kind of finding out about some guys because we're down 6-7 starters. So we're in that game in particular, we had our 4th and 5th tackle in the game, and our 4th and 5th fullbacks playing, and so you kind of start to find out who those guys are as well underneath game. You think you know at practice, but you really don't know until you have a chance to get in the game. Yeah.
Joe Capriolio went down early in the contest. He was a kid, I believe, making his 12th career start for you. Obviously, a guy you're counting on the offensive line, a knee injury. Not sure the extent, taking an MRI, I think you said later tonight. But do you feel snake bit? I mean, we're only 3 games into the season, and I mean, the bodies are starting to pile up.
Well, it's just part of the game, and these things do sometimes come in waves. Somebody asked me that at my press conference, and, I've got all the confidence in the world in the way we train them, and I know Greg Scanlon did a great job this summer. I know we came out of that summer program in as good a shape as we've been since I've been here. So, and our trainers and doctors do the right thing. It just happens, and it's part of the game, and we are wearing thin in some spots, but it always creates an opportunity for somebody else to step up and play.
Yeah, but I think I used the analogy on the game. I remember a few years ago, you were in the NFL at this point, but Eric Pauley was a very good linebacker for Colorado State. He goes down, and an unknown redshirt freshman named Drew Wood steps in, and he never came off the field the rest of his career, and I know that's probably what you're looking for. Hey, the next guy who steps in, we're going to look back in 2 years and say, you know what? He got his first start because so-and-so went down.
And that's what good programs have. The guy playing is afraid to come out because the guy behind him may end up being better. So, as we continue to recruit, we're getting closer and closer to that. We have that in some spots. Unfortunately, some of these injuries are coming at the same spot over and over again, and you do start to, with an 85-man roster, you start to wear a little thin. But, we've got some talented guys, and they just got to step up and play maybe a little earlier than they're supposed to.
Yeah, one name that I felt like I called a whole heck of a lot, whether he was in on a solo tackle, combining on a tackle, or just around the play, was Shaquille Barrett, the sophomore linebacker. Your thoughts on him, and is he progressing?
Well, he's got a big time upside. You're talking about a guy that's 240 pounds and can run and playing in the middle. He's been a rush type linebacker throughout his high school career and his 1 year of college. Now we've got him here. He's got 3 years left, and he's got like I said, a big upside. You talk about a physical guy that can run and hit you. Still kind of learning the linebacker position because we've got him in the middle. But I believe before long he's going to be a real force in there.
Yep, no question about it. Again, coming from Nebraska, Omaha. Well, Ram fans, don't forget tickets are on sale now. They're going fast for that San Jose State game coming up on the October 1st. It's the annual homecoming and family weekend game, and it's historically the hottest tickets on the season. End zone seats are sold out, so call and get your tickets here today. 1-800-491-RAMS or visit csurams.com and get your sideline tickets for the homecoming game again October 1st against San Jose. All right, plenty more to come here tonight from the Beach House Grill. We're in Old Town Fort Collins. We'll step aside. Milligan Sports, Colorado State Sports Network. Live at the Beach House Grill here in beautiful Old Town Fort Collins. Brian Roth along with Coach Steve Fairchild with you. And again, that phone number 1-866-702-7691, 866-702-7691. And for the first time here tonight, let's go to the phones and welcome in Dave. Dave's in Fort Collins tonight. Dave, welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
Doing good, Dave. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. I just had one quick question. So I've been to all 3 games, and you have said repeatedly that the receivers aren't dynamic enough and not getting open. And I see, maybe I'm just blind, it looks to me like guys getting open. Could you explain that a little more, what you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there's a period of time within a play, and I don't know what you see as a fan or on TV. Sometimes once the ball's delivered, you go into that 5th, 6th, 7th second, and you've got guys on the defense side of the ball that will break on the ball, and then you'll look over and you'll see a receiver and nobody's near him. But, typically you have about 2.5 to 3.5 seconds to get some separation. And obviously separation occurs easily in zone coverage because nobody's trailing you. But in man-to-man, that's what you've got, about 2.5, 3 seconds to separate, and we're not doing a good enough job. But this is not about our receivers. This is about our pass game in general. It's, nobody's pointing a finger at a specific receiver. It's about me designing the routes. It's about our quarterback and the timing, protection, and how the whole thing works. But regardless, it does not take, when you look at the stats and you come out of a game with 5 yards of completion and under 10 yards an attempt, you're not dynamic enough in your pass game, and the ball has to get down the field farther for us to be an effective offense.
Right. I agree with that. So, okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you, and go get them on Saturday. Let's be 3-1, not 2-2.
I agree, Dave. Thanks for coming to the game. Appreciate your support.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your phone call as well. Again, that number is 1-866-702-7691. And Steve, you threw out a couple of numbers there in the passing game. Average per pass attempt and average per completion, it was 5.9, 8.8 respectively. Are there kind of benchmarks that you're looking for?
Yeah, you definitely want to be over 10 yards of completion. There's no question. And the more you can be, I've been on teams where you start to approach 15 yards of completion. Obviously you got to have some guys that can run after catch and do some things in that regard. But, if you're not getting 8 yards an attempt, and that's not just the guys catching the football, that's your productivity in terms of hitting enough per attempt. But you'd like to see about 8 yards an attempt when you call a pass play when you come out of the game.
Yeah, I know we had Pete Thomas on the post-game show on Saturday, and it seemed really disappointed with the way that the offense went. Your thoughts on Pete coming off the game on Saturday?
Well, obviously he could be better as well, and particularly in some pocket movement stuff. We took a long time and looked at the tape, but he's going to have a great career for us. He's playing well. We're not turning the ball over. His percentage is high. We just got to create some opportunities for him down the football field.
All right, we'll have more with the coach, Steve Fairchild, following this time out with the Beach House Grill. Fort Collins tonight. Coors Light, Steve Fairchild Show, from Delegate Sports in the Colorado State Sports Network.